Hey guys, Jason here, and welcome to the I Do Games programming series. Today I'm going to show you a few of the programs I use to make games, and I'm going to show you one of the games I've been working on for the past few months, off and on. So this program I'm in now is called Game Maker Studio. I like Game Maker Studio because it has multiple export modules. So you could program a game once and export it for Windows, Macintosh, iOS, Android, PlayStation, Xbox, etc. One of the other features I like about Game Maker is that it is a very forgiving programming environment. And to give an example of what I mean, you don't have to define your variables. You can, but you don't have to. If you forget to put a semicolon at the end of a line of code, it will still compile, it'll still work just fine. Now, the only downside to this is, of course, that it can create bad programming habits, so I generally try to maintain some level of good structure, but I am guilty of abusing the non-defined variables quite a bit. Off to the left side here, you have your resources, and here I've got my sprites. All of the sprites that I've made are organized into this space here. Sound is for music and effects. I don't have any sound in the game yet. I'm not sure what I'm going to do for that. And then we've got scripts. These are kind of like functions, so if you are familiar with C or Java, these are basically similar to functions in that you can call them from other parts of your code at any time. You can pass variables to these scripts, but any variables that you use here are going to be shared with the objects that you called it from anyway. This can get you in trouble sometimes. For instance, I used the variable I in a loop and then used it in a script for a different loop. Because the variables were shared, it put me in an endless loop. Then we have objects, which are basically all of your objects like creatures, player, even input control. For example, I have a controller object which handles all of the input for the game. This just makes things very organized and easy to add to. If I want to add a new input device like joysticks, mouse, touchscreen, all I have to do is make my changes right here and it'll be updated for the whole rest of the game. I always try to design my game code in a very modular fashion because I know from experience that I'm going to want to make changes later on, and if I can just modify one small segment of code to update how the whole game plays, it will save me a ton of time. Then rooms are for different areas of your game. When you do a room change, all of your objects are reset. Some people split their game up into different rooms for each level. Personally, I only make different rooms for completely different parts of the game. For instance, I have a startup room which will display the splash screen and then set up global variables. That might lead to the title screen room, and from there the main game engine room. So I'm going to show you where I am currently at in the game. What I like to do when I'm programming is get down the basic framework for the whole game first. I'm still working on the basic framework for this game. The level design you see now is partially just placeholder for the finished product. Game physics are likely to change. I'll add more sprites and detail to the levels. There will be more interactive aspects to the levels. Creatures will have better movement, etc. I need to keep it pretty flat and to the point because if I decide that something needs to change later, I won't need to modify as much to make it work. If I start a game by adding a ton of polish to every aspect, it'll take me a long time before I can see the game as a whole, and when I do finally see the game as a whole, I might decide to scrap or change parts of the game that I spent days, if not weeks, developing, essentially wasting many hours of development. The idea for this game is that I want it to feel like a familiar new experience when you first play it. Almost as if it were a classic game that you missed out on, with new mysteries and levels to uncover. The characters, creatures, and levels are meant to look familiar. The character I'm playing now is the Vampire Hunter, and the level I'm in now is meant to have a Transylvanian theme. The main reason I went with a more retro look is because I'm not really that great with sprite art, and more detailed graphics would just hold me back. So I'm going to show you the sprite program I use, which is ProMotion. There we go. This program is really good for sprite-based games. It has very solid tile mapping and pixel art tools. As with any program though, it takes time to learn the interface, but for sprite-based games, it's totally worth it. Putting in a little time to learn the interface will save you countless hours. There are many relevant features here which are completely missing from other programs like Photoshop. The program isn't free, but there is a free trial, and the full version is only like $78. Unfortunately, I haven't seen them release any recent updates, but honestly, that might just be because I can't think of anything more this program needs. I've just turned off the grid so you can see the level more clearly, and here I'm showing all of the layers of my tile map. The top layer is all of this stuff in red that you are seeing. I make this layer to tell the game code how we interact with our environment. This layer isn't displayed during the game, but it's just there to tell the game where solid objects, spikes, creatures, and items are located. This just allows me to get more creative with my level design, rather than saying all sprites that look like this are solid, and all sprites that look like this other thing do something else. Over here we have a soft platform. I can go over to my tile palette and pick the soft platform and just place these anywhere. Then all of a sudden I've extended this platform so the game knows you can walk all along here. With this type of platform you can press down and jump to go through it. You can also jump up through it and land on top of it. Whereas this type of platform is just completely solid. You can't pass through it from any direction. Now I've set this program up to automatically update my maps in GameMaker when I export. So if I go over to my tiles here and pick a brick and just place it in here, like so, and then I go straight up to export, it should save it directly to GameMaker, and then we can go run the program in GameMaker and see the immediate result. So let's switch over to GameMaker and run. And there it is. So there's our brick we just placed, and I can pass through it because I didn't set it up to be a solid object yet. So that's the way I like to design, and as you can see here I've got 3 layers here. Well, 3 layers and a solid blue background. This top layer here is of course my mostly invisible layer that just tells the game what to do, where our boundaries are, where the creatures spawn. And then this next layer down is what I use for, this is my top layer, and this is what I use for most of my graphics that get displayed. And then finally we've got the back layer, which I don't put a lot on here. As you can see, it's just mostly shadows and just little details, little background details. I'm sure I'll use it a lot more when I get to the point of the game where I'm adding in polish and extra little details. So you can have as many layers as you want, but I'm just using these 3 because I'm trying to keep it simple and I want to make sure I get through this whole thing. I am just one person after all, and I don't want to get overwhelmed. So I just start out with really basic level design. And in fact, sometimes if I don't know what I'm going to do for the level, I'll just put something down just as a placeholder, knowing that I will come back later and make changes and flesh it out more. Personally, I think level designing is really fun. Actually, I'm not sure if I like level design or the actual programming more. It's a tough call. But either way, I can't wait until I have the main framework down and I can come back and add more detail and secrets into the levels. In ProMotion you have what's called the tile palette. This is basically all of the sprites you use to design your level. I have my tile palette arranged to the right side of the screen here, but if you want to make more sprites, all you have to do is grab one of the drawing tools and start drawing directly onto the level map. Now you can see we have our newly created sprites available in the tile palette, and you can just pick one and place it right into your tile palette anywhere you want. So very cool program, I like it a lot. and I'm just gonna close this file so it doesn't auto-save my changes or anything. Okay, so let's go back into GameMaker Studio, and I will show you one of my other levels. I just have to go into my global variables and change the starting level. Okay, there it is. And I don't know what I'm going to call these yet. I have groupings of levels. I'm not sure if I should call them zones, worlds, or what. But the last zone you saw was like a Transylvanian theme. This is like a cloud-themed set of levels. There, I've got this bird that likes to drop eggs on your head. This is one of the first levels I worked on, and so I didn't have much available in the game code yet. So once I get through all of the basic level design, once I've gone through and done the basic framework for all the levels I want to put in the game, I'm going to come back through these older levels and add some of the newer features that I've been adding along the way. So I don't have a lot in here. You can see I did add moving platforms when I made this level, but there are quite a few code features that I just didn't have at the time when I was making this level. But yeah, it's a lot of fun for me. I love programming, designing levels, creating worlds. I've been programming since I was 8 years old. My dad bought me a black and white TRS-80 computer, and I was programming in BASIC at the time. Oh, so here's this guy. This is the Reaper Bride. When she sees you, she gets all excited, and little hearts come out, and cherubs come down from the sky to attack you. You can probably guess where I got the inspiration for that creature. So let's go back over here so you can get a better look at it again. Yeah. So yeah, I guess I'm probably gonna die here. But yeah, so this is basically it. When I come back through here to polish it up, I plan on working on the sprites more. Not necessarily to make it HD or anything, just to add little details like vines and moss, stuff like that. So the whole idea is once you pass this set of levels, like the cloud levels for instance, then you'll fight a boss and unlock a new playable character from this level theme. So far I've designed 3 playable characters, but you've just seen this one here so far. And I'm still deciding how I'm going to do the level select and also the character select in the beginning. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to structure all of that still, because right now I just define them in the global variables, and so if I want to play on a different level, I just go into my global variables and just change the number. Okay, let's go ahead and start up another set of levels. So that was like kind of cloud themed, and then we have that castle theme, and this is more of like a underworld theme. This is going, yeah, underworld theme. You can see the green pipes, and this other creature here is also inspired by another game. So it's kind of like a whole mishmash of various characters and familiar objects. One of the things I want to do is go back through and rework the main physics of the game, and the way I've developed it, it shouldn't be too difficult. I should only have to change a few areas of the code to do that. So here's these warp pipes. You can actually go through them, and then we'll hit the switch, blow up the bricks. Okay. Whoa. If you fall into these spikes here, you die. But yeah, so that's just a little bit of what I've been working on, and I'll probably release some updates, or if you guys want to know more, have any questions or whatever, just let me know. If there's anything you'd like to see, if you'd like, I don't know, programming tutorials or anything like that, just let me know what you might be interested in. I do games. I do everything there is to do with games. I do it. I collect, and I program, and I old games, new games, arcade games, everything. So yeah, just let me know what you guys might be interested in, if you'd like to see programming tutorials or just see game updates or whatever. Just let me know. And thanks for watching, guys.